Spotlight collision. Fame is a spotlight. Some bask in it. Others burn. KeanuReeves on it was a Wednesday night in Los Angeles. The kind where the stars in the sky tried to compete with the ones on the ground. A light mist from the Pacific coast hung over the city, glowing gold in the neon haze. Downtown pulsed with the electric hum of late-night talk shows, red carpets, paparazzi wars, and the endless shuffle of million-dollar shoes on pavement that never slept. Inside Studio 12 at Atlas Media HQ, the heat wasn't just from the spotlights, it was from anticipation. Marcus Sterling, TV's golden boy, equal parts charm and chaos, was prepping his monologue backstage. Slick in a navy silk suit, every hair in place, every smirk rehearsed. His name had been synonymous with ratings for years, thanks to a talent for pushing buttons with a wink and a grin. Tonight's guest? KeanuReeves. The name alone carried an odd weight in the room. Known not for scandals or soundbites but for silence, Kai didn't play the fame game, he endured it. Stoic, thoughtful, the kind of actor who turned roles into soul sculptures. He rarely gave interviews, and when he did, it was like listening to a monk who occasionally moonlighted as an action hero. So, of course, Marcus had plans. "I'm gonna crack that marble statue tonight," he said to his producer, Lexi, as he sipped from a whiskey glass that probably just had iced tea in it. Guy's like a walking haiku time for some real TV. Lexi gave him a look over her clipboard. "Don't go too hard, Sterling. The audience loves him." "Oh, I'll be gentle," he smirked. "Just a little sandpaper." She rolled her eyes. "Just don't make another celebrity meltdown supercut, okay?" Too late. Marcus was already cueing his mental arsenal. A few edgy jokes, some viral soundbite traps. He wanted a moment that trended, not just trailed. And then he arrived. KeanuReeves stepped into the studio lobby like a calm breeze walking into a tornado. Dressed in black from head to toe, no designer logos, no entourage, just presence. His quiet confidence was unsettling in a place where noise was currency. Backstage hands paused mid-task. One of the interns whispered, "Is it just me, or does he seem unreal?" "No, it's not just you," replied another, inside the green room. Kai sat quietly. No phone. No manager barking instructions. Just a paperback novel tucked into his palm. The Art of Peace by Morihei Ueshiba. "Of course he reads that," Lexi muttered as she peeked through the door. "Ready?" "A stage." Assistant asked him gently. Kai looked up and smiled softly, sincerely. "Let's do it." The music kicked. The lights flared. The audience clapped like caffeinated seals as Marcus Sterling jogged out, gleaming like the crown prince of sarcasm. You know him from brooding glances, soulful silences, and more. Hair flips than a shampoo commercial. Ladies and gentlemen, the myth, the monk, the man, KeanuReeves. Cue entrance. Kai walked out slow, nodded once to the crowd, and shook Marcus's hand. He took his seat with an ease that made Marcus suddenly uncomfortably aware of how much he performed sitting. "So, Kai," Marcus began, smile loaded. "Like a weapon. You're known for saying about 4 words per movie. Are those union regulated, or are you just like emotionally conservative?" Polite laughter. Kai smiled faintly. "I believe in saying what matters," he replied. His voice was low, measured, almost too calm. "Oh, we're starting with wisdom," Marcus laughed, eyes dancing to the camera. "I should have brought a sage stick and a mood ring." More laughter. But something in the air felt off. Marcus pressed on. "Seriously though, this whole mysterious vibe, is that a brand choice, or do you just hate small talk as much as my ex-wife?" Kai didn't blink. "I just think the world's already full of noise. Silence has better acoustics." Oof. The audience loved that. A ripple of genuine applause broke through the chuckles. Marcus squinted, now sensing what he was up against. Wow, okay, Confucius. So I read that you once walked off a set because a crew member yelled at a lighting tech. Is that true? Or were you just feeling moody and underlit? Kai tilted his head. That story's mostly true. I walked off because the way we treat each other matters more than the take. And I wasn't moody. I just believe kindness isn't optional. Boom. The air changed. The studio crowd, accustomed to punchlines, fell into a thoughtful hush. Lexi, watching from behind the camera, dropped her clipboard slightly. Marcus chuckled nervously. Wow, you're really gonna be the guy who ruins sarcasm for the rest of us, huh? Kai leaned in slightly. His eyes were kind but piercing. Not ruin, he said gently. Just remind people they have a choice. You could feel the needle. Scratch off the vibe Marcus had been crafting. A different energy entered the room, like someone opened the door to something more honest, more vulnerable. It wasn't just an interview anymore. It was a mirror. Backstage, a cameraman whispered, "Is it just me, or is he winning this interview without even trying?" Lexi muttered, "It's like trying to arm wrestle fog. You think you've got him, and suddenly he's wrapped around your soul." Marcus tried to pull it back. All right, Mr. Zen. So you don't do parties, don't do press, don't do gossip. How are you even Hollywood?" Kai smiled. Again, Hollywood isn't a place, it's a lens. I just try to stay in focus. Damn, applause. Not just amused, moved. Even Marcus felt it. Something cracked open in him in that moment. Maybe it was envy. Maybe it was admiration disguised as resentment. But he couldn't help but ask, quieter now, "Have you ever been embarrassed?" Kai paused, looked him dead in the eyes. "Yes," he said. "Every time I didn't speak up when someone needed me. Every time I laughed at a joke that hurt someone. Every time I chose silence out of fear, not wisdom." The studio froze, dead quiet. And then a single clap. Then another, until the whole audience was on its feet. Standing ovation. Not for a punchline, but for the truth. Marcus Sterling sat there floored. All his tricks, his jabs, his fast talk, they'd hit a wall made of water and wind. Kai hadn't fought back, he hadn't dodged. He just was, and somehow that was more disarming than any comeback. He glanced toward Kai, who was now looking out at the audience, almost bashful from the attention. Marcus took a breath, and for the first time in his career he said, "Wow, you know what? That might be the most real thing that's ever happened on this show." Kai turned back and smiled. Maybe it's time for more real things. The interview ended with a long applause. No viral gags, no insult montages. Just two men in suits, sitting in silence that said more than scripted laughter ever could. And somewhere, in the hazy Los Angeles night, a new story began, not one of ego, but of empathy. A spotlight had landed, and instead of blinding, it illuminated the unexpected. Retort: sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one holding the heaviest truth. The next morning, Los Angeles was already buzzing, and not just from overpriced espresso and six-lane traffic existentialism. Something was different in the digital air. Phones pinged with shares, retweets, and reaction clips. Coffee shop TVs played reruns of the Marcus Sterling show, not for laughs this time, but for, well, the moment. That moment. The one where KeanuReeves calmly undressed the loudest man in television using nothing but honesty and poise. No zingers, no drama. Just truth served neat, like an emotional whiskey shot, and the internet was drinking it by the gallon. Meanwhile, in Marcus Sterling's penthouse, the blinds were half drawn. His favorite vintage synth record played on low-volume music from a time when his career was still in its hungry phase. Marcus sat in a robe. Coffee untouched? as his publicist Nina rattled off bullet points over speakerphone like a human news ticker. It's at 12 million views and growing. You're being meme-ifed as the guy who got talk shown by a monk. Twitter loves it. Reddit's calling it a masterclass in emotional Aikido. TikTok turned Kai's silence into a slow motion. Walk at it with synthwave music. And Marcus? I hate to say it, but people kind of loved it. He exhaled through his nose. Not quite a sigh, more like an ego exorcism. I thought I had him, Marcus muttered. Had the jokes, the arc, the audience. Nina snorted. You had a plan. He had a soul. That's poetic and annoying. Pick one. I picked both. Look, this could actually help you. For once, you weren't the smartest guy in the room, and it showed people. I dunno, a different side of you, Marcus grunted. Like what, humility? Exactly. The last guy who tried that won an Emmy. And a book deal. He rolled his eyes. God forbid I develop depth. Too late, baby. Depth has entered the chat. Across town, KeanuReeves was nowhere near a screen. He was in a quiet neighborhood community center, sleeves rolled up, helping fix a leaking sink. No cameras, no PR stunts. Just Kai, a wrench, and a volunteer badge. The woman running the place, Miss Lorette, late 60s, tough as nails with a heart like warm bread, handed him a towel. You know you're famous, right? She teased. Kai smiled. Only online. In here, I'm just the guy who still can't fix a faucet without flooding the hallway. She chuckled. Well, you flooded the internet. That interview? Whoa, my grandson texted me a clip. Said you body-bagged the funny man with philosophy. I had no idea what that meant, but I was proud anyway. Kai wiped his hands and leaned against the wall. Wasn't trying to body-bag anyone, just didn't want to fake it. Well, baby, you didn't fake a single thing, and people felt it. That's rare. Online, headlines were having a field day. KeanuReeves ends toxic banter culture with one sentence. When stillness wins. What we can learn from Kai. Marcus Sterling finally meets his match in empathy. Even The Atlantic chimed in with a think piece titled, The Rise of Soft Power in Pop Culture. Everywhere you looked, someone was dissecting it. A tweet even went viral saying, KeanuReeves didn't just respond. He recalibrated the whole damn emotional climate of the room. And in the eye of that emotional storm, Marcus sat in his studio dressing room that afternoon, staring at the mirror, not checking his hair, not practicing a line, just thinking. For once, not about the show. Not about his next punchline, about himself. Later that day, he called Lexi. I want to air an unscheduled clip tonight. She was surprised. Like, a bonus segment? Yeah, I want to show something we cut last night. The part after the cameras went off. Lexi's eyebrows lifted. She remembered that part vividly. Marcus and Kai had lingered on stage after the credits. The audience was gone. Crew wrapping cables. But the mics were still hot. And Marcus, rubbing the back of his neck, had turned to Kai and said, Look, I was gunning for the clip. You know that, right? Kai, packing up his notes, had nodded. I figured. Most people are. Marcus paused. Why didn't you roast me back? You could have shut me down. Kai had looked up. Because shutting people down doesn't open anything. Silence. Not awkward. Just real. Then Marcus had chuckled softly. You're impossible. Like a therapy session wrapped in a leather jacket. Kai had grinned. I get that a lot. That exchange had never made it to air. But now Marcus wanted it out there. I think people need to see what came after the moment, he told Lexi. Not just the clapback. The conversation, Lexi smiled. You're growing feelings. Should I be worried? Worried? No. You should be documenting this for the New York Times. Meanwhile, Kai was on a rooftop. Alone. watching the sun dip below the city like a glowing coin sinking in a fountain. He'd felt the shift too. Not fame, he'd had that before. This was something else. Connection. Unexpected. Strange. Welcome. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Marcus S. Tonight's show. Watch the last 5 minutes. Also, thanks for not torching me when I deserved it. Kai read it, smiled slightly, replied, KAI. Fire makes good light. But so does grace. Thanks for the airtime. That evening, America saw it again. Not the viral part. Not the silence. Not the wisdom. The afterglow. 2 men, stripped of the performance, just being people. One humbled. One human. Both changed. And that 5-minute bonus clip? It did something no joke ever had. It healed. Behind the scenes. When the applause fades, who are you still clapping for? The world saw the moment. The clapback cloaked in calm. The thunderous silence that spoke volumes. But no one saw what happened afterward, not in the public sense. Anyway, behind the scenes, after the clip ended and the applause died down, things got quiet. Too quiet, in Marcus Sterling's opinion. The kind of quiet that's like standing in a dressing room after a sold-out show, alone with your own echo. He didn't like that feeling. He was used to post-show buzz. Producers high-fiving, agents calling, texts flooding and saying, "You nailed it again." But after the KeanuReeves interview, nothing. Just a long pause, like the universe itself was waiting for Marcus to say something honest for once. The dressing room, a study in ego damage. Marcus Sterling stood in front of the mirror, staring at the reflection of a man who, for the first time in his career, looked like he'd just been listened to, and not necessarily in a good way. You ever get knocked out by kindness? He muttered to himself. His assistant, Drew, poked his head in. Say again? Nothing. Just tell wardrobe to burn this tie. Copy that. The door closed and Marcus sat. Not like a celebrity, like a guy who suddenly realized he'd been talking so loudly for years he couldn't remember what his own silence sounded like. He scrolled through his phone. Hundreds of tags. KeanuReeves is a masterclass in humanity. Marcus Sterling got owned by decency. This is what emotional intelligence looks like, folks. There it was. In neon pixels, he'd become a symbol, and not the kind he was used to. A flashback. The origins of the jester there. That's a reason Marcus Sterling leaned so hard into being the funny guy. It wasn't just branding. It was protection. At 11 years old, Marcus was the kid in the back of the classroom with knockoff sneakers, an absentee dad, and a talent for deflection. Humor was a way to keep people laughing too hard to ask real questions. When he was 19 and auditioning for his first on-air gig, a producer told him, "Your eyes are too sad. Smile more. Make him laugh. No one wants to feel things at 10 p.m. He took that to heart. Or rather, he built armor out of it. Every joke, every roast, every smirk was a brick in the wall he constructed around his heart, until Kai showed up and cracked a window open with 5 words. We're all just human here. And damn if that breeze didn't feel like both relief and terror. Across town, Kai's quiet spiral in a cozy, book-cluttered apartment overlooking the hills, KeanuReeves was also wrestling with an unfamiliar feeling. Regret? No. He stood by everything he said. But impact? That was another beast. He hadn't intended to make Marcus the poster child for performative banter. He hadn't even intended to make headlines. He just answered honestly, calmly, like he always did. But something about this moment hit harder than usual. Probably because the world was starving for anyone to speak with compassion. Instead of performance. Kai sat on his small balcony, sipping tea brewed with a ridiculous handmade ceramic infuser that looked like it cost 3 times too much. In his lap, a notebook. Not a journal, not quite. More like a map of thoughts, loose scribbles, phrases, fragments of self. He wrote, "Fame is a mirror, and people are staring at you hoping to see themselves. But what if they see something they weren't ready for?" He closed the book. Below, cars moved like blood through the arteries of the city. Fast, anxious, always late for something that doesn't matter. Kai leaned back and whispered, "What now?" A surprise visit 3 days later, Marcus showed up at the community center. No cameras. No PR team. Just jeans, a hoodie, and an awkwardly wrapped box of cookies that screamed, "I don't know how to apologize, so here's sugar, Miss Lorette." Raised an eyebrow as he walked in. "Well, well. If it isn't Mr. Spotlight himself," Marcus grinned. "I'm trying out the shadows and humility package today. See how it fits." She smirked. "You brought cookies? That buys you 5 minutes." He found Kai in the supply closet, fixing a leaky pipe like some stoic plumber guru. Marcus cleared his throat. "Please tell me you moonlight as a philosopher just so you don't have to call an actual plumber." Kai looked up. "This pipe and I have trust issues. Thought I'd try therapy." Marcus leaned against the doorframe. "Got a minute?" Kai wiped his hands and nodded. They sat in 2 rickety chairs. The kind that feel like truth will come spilling out whether you like it or not. "I came to say thanks," Marcus began. "And sorry, in reverse order." Kai blinked. "You don't owe me anything." "Yeah, but I do owe me something," Marcus said, serious now. "I've built my whole identity on talking fast and avoiding eye contact with anything that remotely resembles emotional honesty. You just showed up, calm, kind, uncheckable." Kai smiled. "I was shaking a little, just inward." "Well, you hid it under a black turtleneck and a soul made of stone tablets." They both laughed. Silence fell, comfortable this time. Marcus looked out the window. "Do you ever get tired of being seen as a symbol, a metaphor? Like, people don't even treat you like a guy. You're a living quote card." Kai thought about it. "All the time," he said. "But I'd rather be misunderstood as too quiet than perform a version of myself that doesn't exist." That landed hard. Marcus exhaled. "I've been performing so long, I forgot what my own voice sounds like." Kai nodded. "Maybe now's the time to find it." The spark of change. They talked for another hour. About fame, about fear, about fathers who disappeared and versions of themselves they tried to outgrow. And when Marcus left, he didn't feel humiliated. He felt lighter. A strange thing happened that night. He wrote a monologue, not for the show, for himself. No jokes, no punchlines, just a letter to his younger self. You don't have to be the loudest in the room to matter. You don't have to hide behind humor to be loved. It's okay to be real, even if real comes with silence. And for the first time in years, Marcus Sterling cried. Not because he was sad, because he was finally telling the truth. The viral echo. The internet doesn't just watch moments. It multiplies them. In 72 hours, 2 things happened. A cat learned to say hello on TikTok. KeanuReeves and Marcus Sterling accidentally launched a global emotional movement. Only one of those stories made it to the cover of Time magazine, and it wasn't the cat. Tuesday, 10:07 a.m. Kai's face goes omnipresent. Kai was mid-walk at Griffith Park, earbuds in, raincoat on, trying to not be famous for a morning. The plan was to spend 90 minutes ignoring humanity while listening to Brian Eno and pretending. Los Angeles had seasons. Then his phone buzzed. Then it buzzed again. Then again. Then it buzzed so many times it began vibrating with the frantic intensity of a microwave trying to explode a metal spoon. Reluctantly, Kai checked it. Breaking. The Reeveson moment inspires mental health challenge online hashtag say it like Kai. Trends worldwide Oprah posts. Sometimes grace is power. He blinked. What? More messages. Dude, you're the face of a movement. The Pope retweeted your quote. The Pope. Your silence is now a ringtone on Spotify. My mom made me watch your interview 3 times. I think she wants to marry your energy. Meanwhile, Marcus faces the music, and it's jazz now, back at Atlas Media HQ. Marcus Sterling was rewatching the now infamous segment, Not Out, of Vanity. Out of sheer disbelief, he'd once gone viral for a segment where he juggled raw eggs while interviewing Chris Pratt. Now? He was trending for getting emotionally undressed by a man who speaks like a Buddhist lighthouse. Lexi, his producer, burst in. We need to talk. It's happening. What's happening? You're a redemption arc now. The public wants you to become a better man, and if you screw it up, they'll bury you under a mountain of memes titled Growth Denied. Jesus. Marcus said, blinking. So I'm what? Internet fraudo on a journey to self-awareness? Exactly. Except with better hair and way more emotional baggage. Cut 2. Online chaos, aka Tuesday afternoon. The internet did what it always does, exploded, divided, memified, and then somehow evolved into a TED Talk with reaction GIFs. Top trending hashtags. Hashtag say it like Kai. Hashtag Sterling silenced. Hashtag soft power icons. Hashtag silent strength. Hashtag she said more viral reactions. Instagram therapists posted breakdowns of the interaction, calling it a microcosm of modern masculinity in crisis. Ariana Grande commented under a clip, "We need more Kai energy in 2025. Trevor Noah dedicated a segment. Sterling tried to play poker with a monk and lost to inner peace. YouTubers dropped think pieces titled, How KeanuReeves subtly dismantled toxic performance culture. The weaponization of wit, a Sterling deconstruction. Quiet is the new loud. Why everyone's obsessed with KeanuReeves. Kai's dilemma, becoming a movement against his will by Thursday. Kai's quiet life had become the loudest thing online. His publicist, Lena, a neurotic powerhouse who once managed 3 boy bands and a meditation guru, simultaneously called in a state of gentle panic. Kai, baby, we have to talk. You're trending in 52 countries. Your quote got turned into a sculpture in Berlin. And BuzzFeed wants you to rank your top 10 tea flavors. You're a phenomenon. Kai pinched the bridge of his nose. I just said some things I believe. That's not a phenomenon. Tell that to Time magazine. They're calling it the moment that changed talk shows forever. He sighed. I'm not a guru. You are now, she deadpanned. Accidental ones are the best kind. Marcus. Man or meme? Marcus wasn't off the hook, either. The public didn't just turn Kai into a symbol of introspective grace, they turned Marcus into the great clown, who learned a lesson. His inbox overflowed with speaking requests. How does it feel to be publicly humbled with kindness? Can you talk about your journey from cynic to maybe empath? Would you like to collaborate with Breen Brown? And to top it off, someone made an AI-generated video of Marcus giving a TED Talk titled, Laughing Through My Insecurity, A Journey. It had 8 million views before noon. He was officially a self-awareness case study. Lexi brought in a whiteboard. On fait for 2 million views before noon. He was officially a self-awareness case study. Lexi brought in a whiteboard. On one side, she wrote, Old Marcus, roasts, egos, viral punchlines. On the other, New Marcus, introspection, growth, adult feelings. Then she handed him a dry erase marker. Pick a path. He stared at the board. Then, without saying a word, he drew a squiggly line down the middle. Maybe I don't have to pick. Maybe I can be both. Lexi blinked. You want to be a humble jester? I want to be real. Real people are contradictions. Besides, he shrugged, the jokes hit harder when they're coming from someone who actually feels things. She smiled. Well, damn, that's a good quote. Want to tweet it? God, no. Then I turned again. Public reaction turns. Deep then something strange happened. The noise quieted. Not because it stopped, but because it transformed. Instead of memes mocking Marcus, they began empathizing with him. Threads popped up. I'm like Marcus. I hide behind jokes. Thanks to Kai, I'm working on it. That moment taught me it's okay to admit you don't always have it together. When a talk show becomes a mirror, something magical happens. Even celebrities began joining in. Emma Stone, I've had so many Marcus moments. Trying to be cool when all I wanted was to be kind. Simu Liu, can we get Kai and Marcus on Hot Ones? Give us wisdom and wings. Zendaya, this is the energy we need, men holding space for each other, not dragging each other. Behind the noise, 2 text threads late one night, Marcus texted Kai. Marcus, so? We're the face of modern masculinity now. No pressure. Kai, funny how being honest becomes revolutionary when everyone's performing. Marcus, I've been playing a role so long I didn't realize I'd forgotten my lines. Kai, maybe it's time to improvise. Marcus, you're insufferably wise. Want to do lunch? Kai, only if there's silence between bites. Marcus, deal, but I'm still ordering mozzarella sticks. Enlightenment can wait. And in the distance, a storm calms in the span of a week. A public interaction meant to entertain had transformed into a culture quake. The lines between celebrity and vulnerability blurred. Talk shows were being rethought. People were asking questions they didn't know they had. What if kindness wasn't boring? What if silence could be loud? What if the best punchline ... didn't punch? And somewhere, tucked between the hashtags and headlines, 2 men who never meant to become symbols were discovering something far more important than fame. They were learning how to be human. The redemption talk. The second conversation is where the truth begins. Sunday, a cafe called Maybe if Hollywood had a neutral zone. It would be cafe. Maybe a low-key coffee shop tucked between a vegan Pilates studio and an aggressively scented crystal store in Silver Lake. The kind of place that doesn't take reservations, doesn't label its pastries, and definitely doesn't care if you're famous, only if you're sincere. That's where Marcus Sterling waited. He sat at a corner table, nursing a matcha latte because regular coffee felt too aggressive today, and trying not to overthink this non-interview. He had one goal: talk to Kai. Not the icon, not the meme, not the guy who made him feel like a punchline on national television. Just the man. He'd thought about this moment all week. Practiced what to say. Rewrote the conversation in his head 10 times, each version either too humble, too guarded, or accidentally poetic in a way that made him want to punch himself. He deleted his notes. This wasn't a script anymore. Kai arrives like stillness entering a room. KeanuReeves walked in wearing black jeans, a gray t-shirt, and an expression that said, I'm here. I'm listening. And I don't plan on saving you from your awkwardness, but I'll sit with you in it. He spotted Marcus, smiled gently, and walked over. Hey. Marcus stood, shook his hand. Hey, no cameras. No applause. No cue cards, just 2 chairs. 2 drinks. And a storm of history between them. The first sips, they sat for a moment, both sipping in silence. It could have been awkward. But at WSN T. broke it first. You look like a man who's about to apologize, but doesn't want to sound like he's been rehearsing it for days. Marcus exhaled. Busted, Kai chuckled. Relax, you're off the clock. Marcus nodded, fingers tracing the rim of his cup. I don't really know how to do this outside the lights. Kai leaned back. That's the point. Lights make us perform. Shadows let us feel. Marcus looked up. Is everything you say automatically tweetable, or do you work at it? Natural gift, Kai deadpanned. They both laughed. Something cracked open, not with force, but with familiarity. The conversation they never had, until now. Marcus set his cup down. No theatrics, just truth. You know, that night on the show? I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was just doing what I always do, find the edge, lean on it, make people laugh. Before they think too hard. Kai nodded. I know. But you didn't react. Not like people usually do. You didn't fight me. You held up a mirror. And I hated it. Kai's brow furrowed, not judgment, just interest. Why? Because I saw myself, and I didn't like what I saw. Kai nodded again, slower this time. That's how growth starts. Discomfort's the down payment. Marcus smiled wryly. Still got it. He looked down, then back up. I've been performing so long, I forgot how to just be. You reminded me. Without trying to, which is somehow even more annoying. Kai laughed. And freeing, Marcus added quietly. I think I needed that. Kai's side of the story. Kai set his cup down too, folding his hands. People think I'm this enlightened monk. I'm not. I get angry. I feel lost. I just got tired of pretending I didn't. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Even with all that poise and serenity? Kai shrugged. Serenity isn't the absence of emotion. It's the decision to not let it drag you. Marcus leaned in, genuinely curious now. So why do you avoid the spotlight so much? Kai paused. Looked out the window for a beat. Because I've seen what it does to people who forget who they were before it. I don't want to become a brand. I want to stay human. Marcus let that sit, then said, well, if it helps. You've become a brand because you stayed human. Kai smirked. Not sure if that's a win or a warning. The turn, honesty hits different over brunch. They ordered food. Eggs, sourdough, two absurdly expensive smoothies. The conversation deepened, not about fame or headlines, but childhood. Marcus talked about growing up with a single mom who used sarcasm as a life vest. Kai shared how his father used silence as a weapon. Until Kai learned to reclaim it as a shield. They weren't trading traumas, just laying cards down. Vulnerability isn't loud. It's slow, steady. Like planting roots. At one point, Marcus said, you know what scared me most about that interview? Kai shook his head. You didn't need me to like you. You weren't performing for me. I didn't know how to handle that. I'm used to people needing to win the room. You didn't want to win anything. Kai nodded. Because if you tried to win a conversation, you lose the connection. Marcus blinked. Dude, seriously, stop. I'm not emotionally waterproof today. They both laughed, but under the laugh, something had shifted. Not just between them, within them. An offer, unscripted. As the plates cleared, Marcus leaned forward. I have an idea. No cameras, no scripts, just you and me. 1 hour on the podcast. Real talk. No bits. Just a conversation. Kai tilted his head. What's the point? To show people two guys figuring it out. Not teaching. Not preaching. Just being. I think the world's tired of perfect personas. Kai thought about it. Then said, only if we don't call it a podcast. Let's call it a practice. Marcus grinned. Done. First episode. 2 idiots and a smoothie. Kai extended a hand. You've got a deal. They shook on it. Not like celebrities. Not even like collaborators. Like men. Meeting again properly this time. Outside the cafe, the world sped on. Cars honked. Influencers posed. The sun tried to convince LA it was fall. But inside cafe maybe. Something rare had happened. Two people had shed the roles the world handed them, and what was left behind was honest. Public forgiveness. You don't heal in silence. You heal when someone listens. The setup, a return, but not a repeat. It was exactly 31 days since the night the world watched Marcus Sterling try and fail to roast KeanuReeves into a viral punchline. 31 days since Kai flipped the script. Not with sarcasm or scorn, but with soul. Now, they were back. Same studio. Same stage, but this time, everything was different. This wasn't the Marcus Sterling show. This was the sit down. A new special. 1 hour only. No desk. No cue cards. No gimmicks. Just two chairs and a question hanging heavy in the air. Can two men publicly rewrite the narrative they once accidentally started? Behind the curtains, pre-show nerves and no punchlines backstage, Marcus Sterling was sweating through his very expensive, very neutral tone linen shirt. He wasn't used to shows without safety nets. No comedy writers, no teleprompters. Just his heart, which had recently grown inconveniently loud and opinionated. KeanuReeves, in contrast, sat with one leg folded over the other, sipping green tea, looking like a human exhale. But even he felt the stakes. I don't want to be turned into a spiritual mascot, he told the producer earlier. I'm not here to be a meme. You're here to be heard, they assured him, and that he could live with. The audience. A room full of expectation. The studio was intimate this time, only 60 seats. Dimmed lights, jazz playing softly in the background. A far cry from the late-night circus Marcus used to command. In the front row sat influencers, journalists, and off-duty therapists, because let's be honest, half the audience came for the emotional arc, not the entertainment. No applause sign. No laugh track. Just silence. The good kind. The show begins, not with a bang, but a breath. Marcus walked out first, greeted by quiet nods and the eerie feeling of being watched not for laughs, but for truth. He sat, adjusted the mic clip to his collar. Then Kai walked in. No entrance music. No preamble. Just calm. Walking out like he was stepping into a conversation that had been waiting to happen. They shook hands, not performative, not stiffed out, real. The host welcomed the audience. A short intro. Tonight's not about drama. It's about conversation. About reflection. About what happens when two people stop trying to win and start trying to understand. The lights dimmed further. The room settled. And then Marcus spoke first. Marcus. I was the joke I was trying to make. A month ago, I sat on this stage and tried to be clever. Tried to take control of a moment like I always do. But Kai didn't play the game. He didn't give me the reaction I was looking for. He gave me something I didn't expect. Grace. And if I'm being honest, that shook me. Because I realized I've spent my whole career trying to get people to laugh before they could really see me. It's safe to be funny. It's terrifying to be real. But Kai was real. And it reminded me what I forgot, that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's a strength I just hadn't learned how to use yet. A pause. Kai nodded, his eyes soft. Then came his reply. Kai, grace is a choice, not a talent. I've been silent most of my life, not because I didn't have something to say, but because I was told that emotion was dangerous. I learned to speak through action, through restraint, through calm. But when someone comes at you, especially in public, the temptation is to clap back, to go viral for being cleverer, louder. I chose stillness, not because I'm noble, but because I've been on the other side. I've been the guy who said the wrong thing and didn't know how to take it back. So I didn't want to add heat, I wanted to add light. The audience exhaled. That beautiful, human moment when people realize they've just witnessed something unfiltered. The turning point. Real questions, raw answers. Marcus leaned in. Did you ever get mad? After the show, Kai didn't hesitate. Yes, but not at you. At the culture that made that moment necessary. We're all taught to posture, to dominate conversations, especially men. And when someone doesn't play that game, people don't know what to do with them. I wasn't mad at you. I saw myself in you, just earlier in the timeline. That? Hit. Marcus looked down. Then back up. Can I ask you something honest? Kai nodded. Why didn't you embarrass me back? Kai thought for a moment, then said, because you weren't my enemy. You were my mirror. And with that, every person in the room leaned forward, closer to the edge of something bigger than entertainment. The public forgiveness moment. Marcus turned toward the crowd, not to perform, but to own it. I want to say something to anyone who's ever used humor to hide, or who's ever mistaken vulnerability for weakness. I see you, because I am you, and I'm trying to be better. Not different, not perfect, just better. The room fell into silence again. Then slowly someone began to clap. No sign flashed. No assistant cued it. Just applause. The kind that grows not from hype, but from healing. What happened next? The episode aired that night. No edits. No punch-ins. No dramatic music. Just real-time reconciliation. And the response? Staggering. The sit-down trended for a week. Men's groups used the episode as a workshop tool. Schools played clips during assemblies. A podcast titled Better, Not Perfect launched, hosted by, you guessed it, Marcus and Kai. But more than all that, two people rebuilt trust in front of the world. And the world, for once, it listened. Backstage, after the lights dimmed, Kai sat, unlacing his boots. Marcus stood by the doorway watching. You good? He asked. Kai nodded. You? Marcus smiled. Yeah, for the first time in a long time, I'm not playing a part. Kai tossed him a bottled water. Welcome to the cast of real life. They both laughed, then walked out, not as opposites, not as headlines, but as men. Lasting harmony. Growth is a practice. Peace is the echo. 1 year later, same city, different sky. Los Angeles didn't look much different on the outside. Still busy, still blinding. Still pretending fall existed. But inside two lives and in thousands of others, it wasn't the same city at all. The last 12 months had been something like a reverse explosion. Instead of chaos spreading outward, it was calm that did. A ripple of quiet courage sparked from a televised moment no one had planned, wanted, or expected to change them, but it did. And now it was time to revisit that echo. The anniversary event. Human First, it was held at the downtown Civic Auditorium, not some glittery red carpet gala or industry circle jerk, but a gathering of minds and hearts under the humble name, Human First. A night of story, stillness, and speaking softly. Wasn't a charity. It wasn't a celebrity showcase. It was something rarer, a celebration of vulnerability. The room was packed not with fame seekers, but with feelers. There were therapists, activists, teachers, veterans, artists, college students, people who had once watched a talk show to pass time and found themselves instead found, and at the center of it, Marcus Sterling and KeanuReeves on. Not hosting, not performing. Just being there. The opening montage, what the world remembered before the main talk. A montage played, clips from there. First encounter. The awkward roast, the gentle reply, the silence, the stunned crowd. But it didn't stop there. The montage kept going. Excerpts from their podcast, Better, Not Perfect, now in its 4th season. Fan videos from people sharing how the original moment helped them reconnect with estranged siblings, apologize to partners, come out to parents, forgive themselves. International reactions. A subtitled clip played from a school in South Korea where two teenage boys performed the original exchange as a school skit. A moment from a small barbershop in Detroit, where a group of men replayed the sit-down episode every month like church. By the end, there were more sniffles than claps, which was the point. Backstage, familiar stillness. Marcus adjusted his lapel. Mike, glancing at Kai, who sat calmly, rubbing a smooth river stone between his fingers, a grounding habit he'd picked up in Bhutan last year. "You nervous?" Marcus asked. Kai looked over, serene. "No, but I'm listening." "To what?" "The moment." Marcus nodded slowly. "You're impossible." Kai smirked. "So I've heard." A beat passed. "You still have that river rock?" Marcus asked. Kai handed it to him without a word. Marcus turned it over in his hand, like it was the weight of the year itself. On stage, the final conversation, there was no moderator, no script, just two chairs. One for the guy who once hid behind punchlines, one for the man who didn't flinch when those punchlines were aimed at him. Marcus began. "We weren't trying to start anything. I was trying to be clever. He was just trying to be kind. But somehow, in that collision, something broke open. And instead of walking away from it, we walked into it." Kai took a breath. "We don't often celebrate stillness in our culture. We don't reward restraint. But something shifted when people saw what it looked like, two men not trying to win, just trying to understand. I've spent this year learning not just how to speak, but how to stay." They didn't go viral this time. No clip hit 10 million views overnight. Instead, they got something better. They resonated. Post talk. Stories in the lobby after the event. The crowd didn't rush them for autographs or selfies. Instead, they shared. A woman told Marcus, "I used to think confidence meant never admitting I was wrong. You taught me that growth can be graceful, not loud." A teenage boy approached Kai. "I saw you sit with silence, and it made me realize I could sit with mine too." A father hugged his son right there in the lobby after confessing he'd seen himself in Marcus and didn't want to keep hiding behind jokes. Every corner of the room buzzed with softness. It was like walking through a living conversation. Later that night, a rooftop reprise back at Marcus's apartment. The city blinked below them like a pulse. They sat in silence for a while, sipping tea, real tea this time, not some ironic whiskey substitute. Kai finally spoke. "Think the moment's over?" Marcus shook his head. "I think the moment became something. A practice. A memory people visit when they forget who they are." Kai nodded. Still hard to believe it started with a roast joke and a pause. "Yeah, wild how grace doesn't come with a warning." They clinked mugs. No toast. No final line, just mutual understanding and a whole lot of stars above them. One final thought. A letter to themselves. They'd agreed quietly to each write a note. 1 year later, not for the world, just for them. A time capsule of who they were becoming. Here's what they wrote. From Marcus. "To the man I used to be, I see now that your humor was armor. And I forgive you for needing it. But you don't have to be bulletproof anymore. You just have to be present. Thank you for surviving. Now let's live." From Kai. "To the man who stayed silent, I'm proud of you for finally speaking, not just in words, but in presence. The world didn't need you to be perfect, just honest. You were. Keep going." The end.